All right, folks, everybody's favorite progressive. She's back on the campaign trail, and she's ready to reflect on her fight with MTG, you know me, and also call for a Senate probe into, well, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. That's right, because there's some insurrectionist red flags. I know, insurrectionist red flags. I'm sorry, folks, that you have to deal with this. But hey, here we are once again dealing with AOC. So, AOC urging Democratic lawmakers to use their power they currently hold in the U.S. Senate. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Wednesday night called on party leaders in the upper chamber to launch immediate investigations into the insurrection-linked flags that were seen flying outside Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's home. So he had some insurrectionist flags. What's going on here? Hours after the New York Times reported that last year, an appeal to heaven flag associated with the baseless claim that President Joe Biden stole. And by the way, YouTube, hold on. Let me be very clear here. Let me drink some water first. YouTube. I'm reading an article, YouTube. So the baseless claim that President Joe Biden stole the 2020 election from former President Donald Trump had been displayed at Alito's beach house. The New York Democrat appeared on All In with Chris Hayes on MSNBC, and said the party must waste no time holding Alito accountable. So here we go. So I think it's only fair. Only fair that we actually hear from the voice of AOC herself. Take it away, AOC. Take it away. Tell us about your feelings.
What do you see as your role as a Democratic member of Congress in a Democratic House majority with respect to this court, specifically Alito and more broadly?
Well, I mean, I don't even think that we have to wait until we have a Democratic House majority because we have a Democratic Senate majority. And this is an alarm that I've been sounding for quite some time now. I think that what we are seeing here is an extraordinary breach of not just the trust and the stature of the Supreme Court, but we are seeing a fundamental challenge to our democracy. Samuel Alito has identified himself with the same people who raided the Capitol on January 6th and is now going to be presiding over court.
They really can't let go of January 6th. It's like that fight with your ex-girlfriend. You know, she keeps on bringing it up, even though you two are broken up. Like, she keeps on bringing it up over and over and over and over and over again. Jesus Christ. Come up with something else. January 6th. It was almost the end of democracy. We almost had a civil war. I mean, really, it lives rent-free in their heads. I mean, this is the only time probably a lot of these Democratic lawmakers, or either that, some of the vote blue, no matter who sycophants, get a chance to LARP or maybe role play as like somehow like they're like a resistance fighter. Okay, let me tell you, vote blue, no matter who, people, something. Okay, Handmaid's Tale was an overrated show. Okay, there you go. Number two, all this talk about tyranny and fascism and oppression, it's already here. And all these people who say, oh, if I was alive during the Civil War era, I would have helped free the slaves. If I was alive in World War II, I would have hid the Jews. No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done none of that. And by the way, this is a horrible time to pause for AOC's face, by the way. I just noticed that. I just noticed that right now. So, hey, folks, be polite.
Court cases that have deep implications over the participants of that rally. And while this is the threat to our democracy, Democrats have a responsibility for defending our democracy. And in the Senate, we have gavels. There should be subpoenas going out. There should be
lawsuits flying, everything. Have it all happen.
Active investigations that are happening. And I believe that when House Democrats take the majority, we are preparing and ensuring to support the broader effort to stand up our democracy. But I also believe that when Democrats have power, we have to use it.
Oh, wow. Oh, hey, where's Jimmy Dore at when you need him? Okay, because that right there, deserves a thunderous laugh. Hey, folks, the last time the Democrats had a supermajority, there was a guy named Barack Obama. Remember how we were going to get affordable health care, public option, and that didn't happen because, after all, Obamacare, which is the Affordable Care Act, which is really Romney Care, which it came from a heritage think tank foundation. Okay, so it's a conservative think tank. Everybody's thinking there. But you want to know what's really pathetic? Is that even with that supermajority, they couldn't get things done. Oh, and they blamed the blue dog Democrats. They blamed things weren't politically sound enough. Hell, that's why Roe v. Wade never got codified. They could have done it, right? Vote blue no matter who. Anytime the Democrats have had a majority or had a position of power, they literally crap the bed or they choose not to do anything at all, period. Hell, it's all of the above. They have excuse after excuse after excuse, but are going to tell all you poor people to vote harder and vote more Democrat next time. What AOC is saying right there is a straight out lie. Anytime the Democrats do have power, and it's going to be no different. It's going to be no different at all.
We cannot be in perpetual campaign mode. We need to be in governance mode. We need to be in accountability mode with every lever that we have, because we cannot take a Senate majority for granted, a House majority for granted, or a White House for granted. Every single minute matters, and we have to use our power when we have it.
Oh, yes. Way to go, AOC. Way to go. But let's talk about power. And let's talk about representing yourself, because of course, AOC does bring up the fact of her bout with her colleague and best friend in the whole wide world, because I know sometimes friendships do end between her and MTG. You know me.
First and foremost, I know that a lot of folks kind of saw these clips going around that were often highlights of what had happened. But a lot of that was a result of structural changes that Republicans decided to make in real time to essentially throw out the House handbook that, frankly, and the House rules for committee guidance and for committee conduct through a vote. There was actually a procedural vote in which every single Republican went down the line and decided to vote that the comments that Marjorie Taylor Greene, the disgusting comments that she made about Representative Crockett, were in fact above board and acceptable, which is rather unprecedented in the House. These rules,
girl, baby girl, don't play.
Are they were established in the 1800s, shored up in the 1800s, after the caning involving Charles Sumner in the Senate, precisely designed to de-escalate a political culture of violence when things get too hot.
Because everything is violent. Words are violent. Statements are violent. And yet we saw Congress truly reveal its face between AOC and MTG. And you know what that was? It was high school mentality. And you know what? I have to take that back. Sorry about that, because I've seen high schoolers. No, I've seen younger people act far more mature and civilized than our esteemed congressional representatives. Tell me, do you feel safe with our congressional representatives maintaining that wall, ensuring that our rights are protected? Because I sure don't.
And in fact, when I was a freshman coming into the House, the rules were so widely respected that there would be motions to strike a member's words, even if they just spoke in the second person and used the word you instead of the gentleman from so-and-so. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene, her acting, like the ogre in that role is not surprising. What is surprising is Chairman Comer allowing that to be the conduct of, and not just him, but every single Republican, surprisingly, except for Representative Lauren Boebert, actually. And I think, the fact that she has been subject to so much vitriol herself may have to do, may have something to do with the fact, I don't know, but it could have something to do with the fact that as women, we understand the vitriol that especially happens. And if you don't want to catch any, then you shouldn't give any. And I think that's what Representative Greene encountered on Friday. If you don't want none, don't start none. And
if you don't want to start anything, don't do anything. There won't be anything if you don't start anything. That's AOC's whole mantra there. But last I checked, AOC has always kind of been the one on the forefront, starting stuff, instigating stuff. Hell, remember when we wanted her for forced to vote and she just gave us all collectively the middle finger. Do you guys remember when AOC, do you remember when she would constantly be yelling at people and threatening people all the time, being violent with her words all the time? Yeah, I do. I mean, she's a hypocrite. But of course, never tell AOC that, hey, Trump is going to be holding a rally in the Bronx, because, you know, Trump derangement syndrome lives rent-free in her head.
What do you think about a big Donald Trump rally in the Bronx?
I mean, I think, as you mentioned earlier, this guy is stuck in court. And let's be very clear about the fact that he is stuck in court because over hush money payments for in order to quiet the story about him having sex with Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the in the lead up to the election. And I think that because he is stuck on so many charges around fraud and.
By the way, look, I just got to say this about the whole Stormy Daniels things. It's one big waste of time. Okay. Everything surrounding Stormy Daniels and all this stuff, it's just another distraction. It's a waste of time. And last I checked, you know, he paid her money. They did the nasty. And he, I don't know, had her sign an NDA and all that other stuff. It's irrelevant. Oh, my goodness. A political figure, a rich billionaire, had intercourse with an adult film star. That has never, ever happened in the history of politics ever. Nothing that controversial ever happened. The innocence of America is now forever gone.
And these payments, he is stuck in a pretty tight radius of where he can go. New York City's blue. Brooklyn is blue, Queens is blue, the Bronx is blue, and he's got nowhere to go. And so he's decided to come to the South Bronx. He's broke. He needs to pay these legal funds and, bussing people in order to get those donations so that he can funnel them to his legal fees is kind of his business right now.
Listen, I'm going to warn you, Democrats, all right? And don't take this any which way you want. Take this any which way you want, Democrats, but you better hope to Christ that Donald Trump doesn't walk away from all of this and doesn't become victorious, all right? Because there's a very good chance that he will. And when he does, if he does, do you have any idea how much more powerful that's going to make him on the debate stage, especially on the campaign trail? He's already decimating Biden. And you can make all your jokes about him being broke or going to court. This isn't his first rodeo, all right? The man knew how to manipulate the system, a system created by Joe Biden and other neoliberal Democrats and neoconservative Republicans, because guess what? Trump was able to walk through all the loops and survive 6 bankruptcies. He was able to survive all these other legal problems. Hell, I'm willing to bet that Donald Trump has his own office in every single courtroom in the United States. This isn't his first rodeo. He's like, oh, first time he sees somebody walking in there, they're scared. He's like, don't worry, you'll get used to it. And yet this is something that she wants to smirk about. And somehow she is confident that New York is blue. Listen, Chicago is, yes, a Democrat city. But for the first time in a long time, I have been seeing more and more Chicagoans either vote independent, leaning independent, choosing not to vote at all, which is a common thing here in Chicago, actually. All right. It's not this liberal utopia. It ain't. People are dissatisfied with the system. Or dare I say it, I have seen my fair share of blue neighborhoods putting up Trump signs, or either that becoming Trump supporters for this one election cycle. So AOC, you're saying New York is all blue. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I almost going to have the John Cena meme coming in the background. Are you sure about that? And yet this is all one big distraction. Can we really trust somebody like AOC when, in fact, she has constantly sold us out? She has constantly lied to us like any other politician. And I really can't have absolute confidence in her because at the same time, when you have someone like AOC, you get an endorsement, especially like APAC Tracker. Look, I like some of your work, but we probably recommend AOC for re-election in New York 14. All right. She's one of the few sitting members of Congress who rejects Israeli lobby money. Okay. You're saying that people should vote for her. I remember when AOC voted present for the funding for the Iron Dome, she turned her no vote to a president because Nancy wagged her finger in her face. I remember when it took a long time for AOC to say the word genocide and being confronted by voters. I remember when AOC has been confronted by people like Jose Vega and other activists and organizers asking her to fight for us. I remember when AOC and all those progressives for the Force the Vote petition turned their backs on us. I remember when AOC and all these other progressives turned their backs on workers and union workers and so many others. See, it's easy for people like AOC and their sycophants, their most diehard supporters, to say, oh, if you just vote Democrat, things will be better. No, you don't vote Democrat, you don't vote Republican. You got to break away from it. We fell for the scam before, and we can't keep falling for it anymore. It is a risk that we cannot waste our time on. So much resources and time, effort, and energy have been wasted on politicians that don't deserve our support. Now, I don't know how this November election cycle is going to play out. I don't know who's going to sit on the throne. But for people like AOC to say, oh, we need to investigate this and we need to investigate that, and if the Democrats do win the White House or the Senate and the House of Representatives, then we will use our power. We have seen what happens when the Democrats have a majority. And you want to know what that is? Nothing. Or better yet, I'm going to quote Joe Biden. Nothing will fundamentally change, period.